Front Stoop, what's poppin'? It's your boy Sim. Ladies and gentlemen, a suspect has been identified in the Young Dolph murder case. We're going to talk about it right now. I got my man Savvy D in the building. We got Tony Crow in the building. And before we even get to you guys, let me just go ahead and break down what's happening right now. All right. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation earlier today tweeted out the following. We need your help to find Justin Johnson, wanted by the Memphis Police Department and the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation for first-degree murder, criminal attempt first-degree murder, and theft of property between $10,000 and $60,000. He should be considered armed and dangerous. And if you've seen him, call 901-378-3132 or 1-800-TBI-FIND. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to capture as many of these people as possible. Get them off the street. You know what I'm saying? We got to stop killing our young brothers, sisters, rappers, whoever they are. We got to put an end to it. You know what I mean? allhiphop.com. They also have an article you can go check out. It says the cops are hunting for a 23-year-old rapper. He's another rapper by the name of Justin Johnson. His rap name is Straight Drop. All right. Now, Johnson, he was faced with accusation of being involved in the murder just weeks after the shooting took place. Allegedly, he's one of two rappers who stole a paper route empire chain. Let me say that again. Stole a paper route empire chain from Young Dolph's artist, Big Moochie Great. All right. Johnson can be seen sporting the chain in his last video for his song Stepped On featuring Big Homie G. Of course, fans of Young Dolph, they flooded Johnson's Instagram page, all right, with messages telling him to turn himself in, you know, his time is coming, etc., etc., etc. Another local rapper has also been implicated in the shooting. All right, and he goes by the name of JoJo Splat. All right, now JoJo Splat, he's gone to his social media and posted saying that Straight Drop or Johnson is innocent. Anyway, Savvy D, what's popping with you, man? What do you know about this case here? Let's talk about it a little bit.
I'm doing well, still living, you know what I mean? R.I.P. to the past. This is real unfortunate. It's been what, a month and a half, maybe 2 months since the killing.
Yep.
We were actually live on the air when we found out about it.
Yeah,
when the news broke about it.
We were.
Which is kind of nuts, honestly. But what I've gathered since then is that, just to summarize, Dolph was at a store called Makita's Cookies. It's a little bakery cookie shop, you know, black-owned business that he liked to go support. He was getting some cookies for his mother, as a story that as I know it goes. When the shooting took place, I heard rumors about retaliation and actions being taken thereafter, and just a streak of violence that happened due to the shooting. There was a lot of talks about what would come to happen to all of his philanthropy. You know, luckily, the turkey drive that he normally has on Thanksgiving was done by the artist that he had signed to that label, you know. So Justin Johnson now being a suspect in the shooting, you know, I suppose that they've been able to narrow it down to a few people, and they've been able to find those who have not become victims of retaliation themselves.
Right. I mean, they probably have evidence, clear evidence that points to Johnson. You know what I'm saying? So they didn't just, find him. They have evidence somewhere along the way. Obviously, we don't know what that evidence is, but they have evidence somewhere along the way. I mean, if he's rocking the chain, in the video, he gave himself up.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
And we know that there's a video evidence of the shooting, like as it took place on the scene, right? Yeah. There was drivers. I probably like.
There was cameras in the cookie shop. So
there was cameras in the shop.
That's some evidence there.
That's some evidence there. There was a getaway driver. There was I think 2 shooters, right? And then and if they have a paper route Empire chain, I mean.
Yeah, I mean,
those don't go. You can't walk into a jewelry shop and just buy one.
Right.
You got that from somewhere.
Yeah, hopefully, man, they're going to, he's not going to turn himself in. There's been people asking for him to turn himself in. He's not going to turn himself in. You know what I mean? That's not going to happen. At least I don't think he's going to turn himself in. You never know. Crazier things have happened, but he's probably not going to turn himself in. Somewhere along the way, someone's going to have to give up some information to make sure that this guy is found and, he gets what he justly deserves. You know what I mean? But, Tony, in 2021, we lost a lot of rappers to violence and disease. You know what I mean? We lost a lot of people. Just recently, last month, we lost Kango Kid. I'm not exactly sure who Drakeo the Ruler is. I'm not going to lie, but we lost Drakeo the Ruler.
That was messed up.
Baby CEO. Prince Marky D died this year, or last year, 2021.
Slim 400.
Biz Markie.
Right. Biz Markie. Black Rob.
DMX.
Shock G.
Yep.
Chucky Thompson.
Yep.
Couple of kids that were affiliated with Wu-Tang. 12 o'clock. YNT One. I mean, we lost a lot of rappers in 2021, and there's a lot of people that we obviously didn't name, and there's no disrespect to them. You know what I'm saying? As a matter of fact, if you know of a rapper that we did not name that lost their life, put it in the comment section. You know what I'm saying? Show them some love. Let us show them some love. Let everybody show them some love. You know what I mean? But two things here, right? Young rappers are losing their life to violence. Older rappers are losing their life to not taking care of themselves. Let's hope that the rappers in between, are able to see what's going on and say, you know what, let me keep myself away from the fray and let me keep myself healthy as well. You know what I mean? Because, and those are things, it's not just rappers. This represents the black culture. Community and how we take care of ourselves, from gun violence to not eating right, not taking care of ourselves, not exercising, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean? I don't know. What's your thought process on that, Tony?
Well, first off, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly where I was going to go after I said, rest in peace to Young Dolph in particular, but I mean, it's been a trend last year. I think that's probably the most we lost in a year. And I believe we spoke about this in 2020 as well. Like we lost a lot of, maybe not rappers in general, but just people from our community seem to be dropping like flies. And those are two of the main factors right there. Gun violence, and health. So I do want to shout out some of the staples of hip hop who actually recognize some of the things that they did as a youth, as far as not eating healthy and things of that nature. The Styles P's, the Jada Kisses, you know what I mean, who changed their lifestyle and promoted and can be of some influence to this younger generation. I mean, even myself, I got a lot of bad habits, a lot of things I need to change, but watching some of these guys that I used to look up to and still look up to, that have kind of shown a path, shown a way, it's encouraging, and it opens my mind into, you know, trying some healthier foods and maybe getting into a regime of trying to stay healthy. Plus, you know, I got a daughter. I want to be there for her. So it's a, you know, it's a mind thing, and we really got to put focus on that. And just to focus on the violence real quick, man, it really needs to stop. It's happening all over the place. I think I spoke to you earlier about, you know, what's going on in the Bronx with the drill music and the drill rappers, like killing each other or getting killed, you know, beefing. Like, I've never really seen a city in this much of a war zone. And I'm not there in the physical, but I like to go home every chance I get, and it's on my brain now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's not just, and it's all over the country though, right now. You know what I mean? It used to be just the inner cities, but it's not anymore. It's everywhere, and it's crazy. It's everywhere. I think I told you before, I was working on a project in my local community because gun violence had went up. I forgot what it was, 100 and whatever %. You know, for the year 2020. You know, and 2021 started off on pace to double it. Now, it didn't. Thank God it didn't. But it started off on pace to double it. You know what I mean? But it's still, you know, like, it's still right now for 2021 was like 75% higher than it was 3 years ago. You know what I mean? And not that much of a drop off from 2020. I'm in the suburbs. You know what I'm saying? It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yeah, man. It's down here too.
Yeah, Florida. You know, not just the cities, like you said. It is everywhere. I mean, even upscale neighborhoods. You look at where Pop Smoke was set up or killed.
In the hills,
however it happened, but this is a nice, rich area. You know what I mean? So you're right. And I think a large psychological effect or cause to this, you know, was this pandemic as well. You know, people was sat down in the house for a full year, cooped up, bottled up energy, emotion, and everything else, and you know, a lot of things were done on social media more so than ever at that time. You know, creative content was flourishing, but a lot of things was said during that time, and people held it in their mind, like, oh, I'm going to see this guy at some point, and you know, people got outside and forgot how to act. You know, like, making up for lost time in a bad way. So I think that had a large effect on people's psyche, and could be the cause to the spike, you know, in a lot of violence as of recently.
Yeah, it's no doubt about it. You can look at, you remember last year with the NBA, how many times you seen fans throwing drinks or popcorn or, you know, just doing wild stuff to players. You know what I'm saying? And I can attribute it to them being just like wound up because of the pandemic. You know what I mean? The pandemic definitely took a mental toll on a lot of people, man. A lot of people took a mental toll on them. I've, you know, been witness to it with friends and family. You know how, you know, people just felt overwhelmed and cooped up, you know, and plans that they had it didn't happen. It wasn't able to take place. And I'm talking about major life events. You know what I'm saying? It was difficult to navigate, and still is difficult to navigate.
I agree with the fact that the pandemic took a toll on like certain fan bases acting a certain way, but just on the sports aspect, I wanna add a factor in there because we came back, we had baseball games and we had football games, and even though you've always had problematic fans at certain baseball games, especially depending on the city, we haven't seen similarly hostile behavior toward the players as we saw in the NBA. I think an additional element that makes it even worse for the NBA players is the fact that they were the only pro sports league, aside from the WNBA, who largely led the charge, right? To actually take part in active protests against the injustices that were taking place during that period, while the country was largely locked down and on quarantine. So I think a bit of resentment for that outspokenness and that demonstrativeness and taking a stand for beliefs by the NBA players, WNBA players, and as a whole came to bear when they started to allow fans back in the arenas. It got so bad as people getting spat at and fans telling John Morant's father, yo, I'm going to have your son tap dancing for me or whatever in my house, or whatever those idiots said. And just sending the message that they should not have been allowed back when they were allowed back. And as for the violence, if something poignant was pointed out to me by a former professor of mine, salute to him. He talks about this like pretty frequently. He's like, my generation, the millennials, the second stage of millennials that's just about to turn 30, or probably 31 at the oldest right now. We grew up learning about the cautionary tale of Tupac and Biggie and rap beef and how that can go bad and lead to tragic outcomes that didn't need to happen, right? When we were adults and there was a generation growing up under us, they start to have rappers and artists who are their favorite, who are in our generation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they've seen a lot of, if not all, of their favorite rappers get killed and die. Tupac and Biggie were two guys, two major stars.
I mean,
but look at how many now.
There's a couple others besides just Tupac and Biggie, but I feel what you're saying.
Absolutely, and like even when I was growing up, there was more than that, but there were so many prominent examples now. Like Pop Smoke was someone's favorite rapper. You know what I mean? XXX, a lot of people's favorite rapper. To this day, I was at a concert a couple months ago. They're still talking about X and how they miss him and how much of an impact he had on them. And that's just two very prominent examples, right? Mac Miller didn't die violently; he died of an overdose. A lot of people really love that kid.
But
right?
you can add that into the equation as well.
Add it in there.
The overdose deaths was hitting back to back for a little minute as well.
Exactly. And that's what we just throwing. But that's what we just said: disease and violence. You know what I'm saying? And when you're talking about addiction, that's a disease. DMX. I still don't know all of the details behind his death, but we know DMX suffered with addiction. You know what I'm saying? Disease. It's not just, we're not just talking about diabetes and things like that. We're talking about that too.
Yeah.
Black Rob had an illness. Speaker Knockers died. I think he had sickle cell anemia, or Well, I think the official cause of death was a heart attack for Spiegel Knockers.
Yeah.
You know, he was a guy.
Yeah, hip hop has to
Making
be
a lot
the
of-
only genre of music that has so many deaths.
Yes.
The only genre of music. But you know, I'm not into rock and roll like that or heavy metal or whatever. So I don't know. You know what I mean? Because I'm sure there's deaths there as well, but it can't be like hip hop. It can't be like hip hop.
And I'm sure there was I mean, I was never into those genres of music either, but I remember a time when, you know, certain rock or heavy metal or whatever you want to call it, like these guys was passing away from drug addictions and
Yeah.
you know, misusing, you know, recreational things and that nature. So I think maybe it slowed down, or just maybe I'm not in tune with it, but it happened there. But I agree. I don't think it's happened the way it's happened in hip hop.
Yeah, man. It's
no doubt about that,
it's so pervasive. A lot of people say being a rapper is the most dangerous job, you know, and it absolutely seems that way when you look at the streak of violence that's come to take place. King Von, another example, you know, like King Von happened, you know, a bunch of FBG Duck in Chicago, you know, MO3, you know, these guys they all died violently. You have a lot of people who are numbing themselves with substances, right? You know, like some people take drugs recreationally, some people take it to cope and self-medicate with things that they're dealing with. And all of it can lead to your downfall, and we need to try to move forward in a way that is healthier for our longevity and our chances to go on, and have it be a less grim landscape for the artists that we love so much. You know, I still think about guys like Dollar. Seemed like he got took out before he even got a chance to really get on. Michael Jackson went the way he went, you know, during his propofol infusion. Prince died the way he did. You know, these are icons, and then this guy's that's just getting started. Pop Smoke is about to go on his first world tour, like probably that next day when he got killed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know, God of Blackness, thank you for the super chat. He said, vain repetition. Hip hop is death's chant music at this point. You know, and you know, I can't even disagree with him. You know what I'm saying? Seriously, can't even disagree with him. Let me ask you this, Tony. Whose responsibility is it? And maybe the answer is everybody's, but you know, somebody has to take the mantle of trying to change it. Whose responsibility is it to take that mantle? Is it the young rappers? Is it the older, you know, the older generation that are considered legends in the game? Is it their responsibility to try to take these young dudes under? I mean, there's so many rappers out now. You don't know, you know, like where do you start? Where do you go? But
I mean, as far as rappers, I think the best way they could the best thing they could do is honestly put it in the record and try to teach them through the music, because trying to be hands-on is probably just as risky, you know what I mean, for them at this point in their careers. Is like, unless you have a personal relationship with one of these younger artists, it's only a few of them that's gonna be willing to come down and give good advice, you know, and they're gonna be selective in who they give this advice to.
Right.
You know, a lot of times, some of our favorite rappers will give good advice, but the message, the the message is right, but the delivery is off. So now it's not even being received. It's being received as a slight instead of being received as advice. So it's tough. It's tough to put it on the rapper, the older generation rapper. I think it's a bigger responsibility, and call me crazy, but I think it's a bigger responsibility to the label that they're signed to the management that they're under, than some of these older artists. And you know, it's tricky with that because, you know, some will say these artists are more valuable deceased. The catalog value goes up and things of that nature. I mean, that could be conspiracy theorists.
No, but it's true. The value goes up. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. A rapper passed away.
Maybe they don't care.
You know, see, I feel it being hard to go to the label, one, because most of the label owners aren't really in the community, you know what I'm saying, aren't part of, you know, the black community, because this black kids is dying. And I look at the older generation as, you know, like, I know it's a large community when you talk about hip hop, and there's, you know, so many rappers that you just don't know of. And so I guess you kind of got to break it down by, you know, each community, those older generation guys be able to say, yo, let's figure out something that fits our community. But like in anything, I always look at it and say the older people are supposed to teach the young guys, the younger people. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do I maintain in this game? How do I keep my head on straight? How do I become successful? How do I protect myself and my family, my money, and those type of things? I just wouldn't depend on the labels to do it, because the labels are out for the money. You know what I'm saying? Like that's their bottom line, and you know, that's what they do. That's their job, to try to find a way to make money off of that artist, that rapper's talent. You know what I'm saying? And what a lot of times what it comes down to is these labels, not even just labels, and, you know, all these movie companies and everybody basically making money off of the pain of the black community. You know, it's
I mean, you're right. It's a large expectation for me to say the labels to kind of protect their asset, but it don't got to be a standard. Like, it'd be nice if it's a standard, but it'd also be nice to see some of these labels saying, you know what, instead of me giving you this advance, your advance is going to be this house outside of the hood. You know what I mean? Like, this get these guys out of the situations that they're in, instead of, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, because the guy got to leave himself too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
he got to leave himself, and, you know, the label. Listen, the more rappers still in whatever situation they're in, the more authentic they seem, the more records they sell. You know what I mean? So it becomes a tricky situation. But somewhere along the line, somebody's got to take up the mantle. I put it on the OGs, you know, to pick up the mantle and say, you know, we got to, because the young guy, they still kids. They're still kids coming up. They're learning. You know what I mean? And a lot of times they learn from their predecessors, and then they go to another level. We were just talking about this, right? They learn from their predecessors, then they go to another level. You know what I mean? And want to prove that they the hardest of the hard, and sometimes even to show my predecessors that, yeah, we're tough too. You know what I'm saying? How many times does a kid like get all these stories from their father, you know, about what the father had to do, and so the kid's like, all right, well, I'm gonna show him I could be tough like that too, or I'm gonna show him I can handle myself in these type of situations too, so I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. You know,
I mean, for that to work,
bro.
I think I'm sorry. I'm gonna let you go, Savvy. I know I've been hogging. But there's a disconnect, I think, between these generations, and so we got to bridge that before they can even help.
True.
And a lot of times, as fortunate as it is, these younger kids got to go through it to learn from it before they even change. You know what I mean? Just like the older generation had to go through it
no lies.
And grow up.
Yeah, no lies.
So by the time he's grown up, he kind of changed his life, changed his mentality, became a man. By this time, that younger generation is disconnected from you because, one, they may like the old you, which, the youth through you. And now they're looking at you like, you know what I mean? Like you used to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
that's what I loved about you.
Right. You made, like J. Cole said to Nas, you owe me, dog. I thought that you could relate. Right. For those who don't get the reference,
Let Nas down.
That's from J. Cole's song Let Nas Down. But for those who are just joining us, man, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation put out a tweet earlier today. They said, we need your help to find Justin Johnson, who's wanted by the Memphis Police Department and the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation for first-degree murder, criminal attempt, first-degree murder, and theft of property between $10,000 and $60,000. He should be considered armed and dangerous. This young man, who is himself a rapper, is wanted for the murder of Young Dolph. Right? That's how we got into this conversation about, the violence, the gun violence, the death by disease and violence within the hip hop community. That's where this conversation stemmed from. So we didn't just jump in here and start talking about it. It came from someplace.
Yeah.
And in 2021, we lost a lot of people.
Yeah. I want to just add one more little piece of insight onto the end of that exact discourse on what can be done as a solution. It's kind of a grim scenario because I do think it's a manifestation. It's like an artifact of a greater cultural issue that we have in this country around, the way that we idolize gangsterism and criminality and in certain forms, and also violent interactions and violent measures that people take. We have a massive gun culture. We especially in the environments that we find ourselves marginalized into. People get stripes a certain way, and now they get respected as opposed to being made to feel like they did the wrong thing or like they shouldn't have done that or anything like that. But it's tough to look to anybody like that we would regard as OGs because it seems to transcend age. Like, for example, Nipsey Hussle, he was 32, 33 years old when he was killed, and he was killed by another grown man, like probably in his 30s as well, right? And I think beef transcends age brackets in that certain sense. And it's like Nas said, it's ugly outside, it's grown men jealous outside. You know what I'm saying? MO3 was targeted, you know what I'm saying? I think rappers especially just become targets, whether they have a beef or not. There could be a complete stranger coming at you. And oftentimes that's even worse because you don't even know who to be on the lookout for, right? Someone could pose as a fan, and you go to give some fan interaction, and then they get the drop on you just like that. So ultimately, protect your neck. Be careful. Make sure you trust the folks around you, and move wisely. Because as soon as people know that you got it, there's somebody out there that doesn't, that wants to come and get it.
And also, I hate to say it because I don't want to sound like the old man on the block, but I'm gonna sound like the old man on the block. Watch what you're putting in your music.
Yep.
Because a lot of times what you say, what you put out there manifests itself. You know what I mean? It will manifest itself. You know, just you got to watch it, man. You got to watch it. You got to be careful. Speaking of our communities and you know, the pain in our community, you know, not to make this a sad episode. I don't want to make it a sad episode, ladies and gentlemen, but you know, it's out here. Sometimes we got to talk about it. It was in the New York Post today that George Floyd's 4-year-old niece was shot while sleeping in her Houston home. Yep. She was shot in the torso and is in stable condition after emergency surgery. The bullet punctured her lung and liver and also broke 3 ribs. Ariana was one of 4 adults and 2 kids who were in the Houston apartment around 3 a.m. when it was bombarded with bullets. Police said in a statement they do not know if it was one person or multiple people firing the shots. Cops have no suspects and don't know a possible motive. She was asleep in her bed when she was shot. Her family often brought her along to marches and rallies calling for justice for her late uncle. You know, tough turn of events for that family, man. You know, painful. That's painful. But thank goodness, man. Like Latoya just said, thank goodness she is okay. Yes, thank goodness that she is okay. You know what I mean? And she's going to survive. She's in stable condition. She's going to survive. And, you know, I'm sure she's going to be grateful for her life and her family's going to be grateful for her life. But, you know, wow, it's tough. Oh, it's tough. You know, we got to do something out here, man. We got to do something out here. We can't keep living like this.
And you know, what's rough is that, you know, you lose an uncle, you lose a brother, you have children, your house gets shot up in your neighborhood in the wee hours of the morning on New Year's Day, when people are probably already outside shooting anyway. You probably don't even know someone is shooting at you because, like, even I was hearing people pop off shots. You know what I'm saying? Like in years past, and someone shoots up your place and they hit your daughter. Now you're worried that you might lose your daughter a year and a half after you lost your brother.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? Right. I think it's his niece or his great niece, and it's like, and it's just senseless. On top of that, to make matters worse, you call for help. You call the police. They always say call for help, call 911. You do as they say, and according to all the reports I've seen, it took them roughly 4 hours to respond.
It's ridiculous.
So shots are fired. Your child is hit. Luckily, her mother was able to drive her to the hospital and get her treatment faster than what it would have taken to get emergency services out there. So double blessings for that. Very glad that the young lady pulled through. That's a strong little girl. But the response time by that police department that responded is also a factor that could go into more police distrust and probably, you know, more people feeling like it's safe to just victimize people in their own community, because when y'all call the cops ain't going to show up for a hot minute. So there's a lot going on in this situation. I'm glad that the young girl is okay, and hopefully that family can find some peace sometime soon. Unfortunately, you know, it's not going to be without suffering and turmoil, you know, as we've seen.
Right. You know, and it's crazy because these issues that we're talking about gun violence, you know, and then we're talking about late 911 calls, you know what I mean? And we've been talking about this. You can go all the way back to Flavor Flav with 911 as a joke. And even before then, 30 years before then, still dealing with the same things, man. It's crazy. You know, the only thing I can say is everybody do your part. If you do your part, you know, to keep you and yourself, family, and then help somebody else that you can help if you can. Maybe we can, build some positivity out here because, something's got to happen. Obviously we need a little bit more than that. We need some things to happen on some structural levels, but it's a rough climate. It's a rough climate. It's
a tangled web of issues that could all kill you.
Yeah, it's a rough climate. Go ahead, Tone.
I don't see a fix anywhere in near in sight. Like you said, we all gotta just do our part, but it's tough, man. Like even in calling the police, you hear stories of a black man or a black woman calls the police come and look at you as the suspect rather than the person who actually called for their help. So, I remember growing up in a culture where, forget not snitching, we weren't even supposed to even call the police or speak to police or ask for help. You know what I mean? Where even that, I think has to change. But we gotta fix this. I did want to bring up, if we have time, New York City thinking about re-implementing the plainclothes cops.
I heard about that.
And just your thoughts, if you think it's a good idea, bad idea. The mayor's behind it. They got obviously a black mayor now, a black chief of police, black district attorney as well, and it's almost like a joint effort between the three where they're trying to bring this back, citing body cams being the change in circumstance where they feel like it could work this time. I still think it's a tricky situation. I don't know if I'm for it or not, but they're also citing this as the way of trying to get these guns off the street, which obviously I think is very important. For a state that has the toughest gun laws in the country, and to have this much gun violence, something has to give.
Right. I mean, my question will always go back to who's going to police the police. That's what it's always going to go back to for me. You know what I mean? If you're going to take methods to try to, curb some of the activity that's going on out there on the street, how are you going to police the police? How are you going to make sure that the police are not either participating in the violence themselves, or trying to capitalize off of the violence that's out there? You know what I mean? How do you police the police? That's always going to be my bottom line. Tell me and show me the plan on how you're going to make sure that this works. Just police the police. That's what I want to know. Whatever your tactic is, that's got to be the answer always. How are you going to police them? How are you going to make sure that they're doing?
And it's interesting. It's interesting because, I feel like I've seen more police get fired and charges, and even if the sentence is a light sentence, I've seen more convictions than I feel like I saw prior to George Floyd and like between the period where Trayvon died and the George Floyd killing, it seemed like a massive spike in the amount of police violence against the community that went completely unchecked, and cops that were held unaccountable, even in the most egregious of cases. There was a kid, Corey Jones, out here in South Florida. He just got justice last year. And we know what happened with the Chauvin sentence. We know what happened with the McMichaels, right? We see that they're making more of an effort in some ways, but a lot of people pointed out to me, and in the moment of the sentence being announced for George Floyd, hey, they probably just threw this guy a good sentence to sort of calm the feelings down, because in the Senate, in Congress, there was the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act that they were trying to get passed, along with this massive new infrastructure bill, this bipartisan bill. And they were able to successfully gut that act and pretty much remove all of the key points of the legislation that would make it possible to hold individual officers more accountable, things like qualified immunity, reducing the power of the police union to shield that officer from being questioned and interrogated for long periods of time after the initial shooting, the paid leave, the fact that if they don't get criminal convictions, the civil lawsuits that people are allowed to file, if they're awarded damages, it would come from the taxpayer-funded budget that goes into the police budget, as opposed to being a personal liability for the officer that is being sued. And an officer needs to be fired before any of the real accountability measures can be put into action. And all of that was on the table, and I mean, people against all of that, but when they hadn't successfully, gutted that bill and made sure that we did not get the reform we needed. It's named after the guy whose niece we're talking about, who the cops took 4 hours to respond to. Right. I think I just make the connections, and I just think it's sad that we have this slow crawl towards the changes that we so desire and need.
Right. No, I'm with you 100%. Still Knicks fan said, I'll be honest, I'm worried about people's rights being violated, but New York is really bad. Homeless people are running around the city, and you have people wearing masks committing crimes. You know what, still Knicks fans? If you go to major cities across the U.S., there are homeless communities everywhere. It's really, the pandemic really took a toll on this country, man. I live right outside of D.C., 45 minutes from Baltimore. And when I go to either one of those cities, as soon as I enter, at least in the way that I enter, as soon as I enter, bam, rows and rows and rows and rows and rows of homeless families, not just individuals, families living in tents. You know what I'm saying? Just cities, tent cities. Same thing in Baltimore. Martin Luther King Avenue in Baltimore. There's a median right in the middle. You got one road going one way, the other street going the other way, and right in the middle there's a median with grass and trees, and in between the trees, nothing but homeless tents all the way down Martin Luther King Avenue. It's wild. It's crazy. And amongst all of that, we got people running around shooting each other.
So, it's worse now. But I went to LA in 2018, and I saw literal blocks, like literal whole blocks, areas they call them tent cities, like just tent it up.
Yeah.
You got 10, 15, 20, 30 feet of sidewalk space under a bridge somewhere. Tent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the quarantine, the pandemic, all that has just made it worse. And that's why you see places that have a large population of homeless have had a very hard time curbing the spread of COVID, because these places, they have no place to go to isolate and get away and lock it down while they deal with their symptoms, while they deal with trying to get clear of the virus. They don't have resources. They don't have papers or insurance. They can't go and get a vaccine. They can't find a mask for free somewhere. Like,
yeah,
it's all these problems feed into each other.
Yeah, it's crazy. Spence Overton said Philly is crazy too. And let me fix that real quick. There we go. Said Philly is crazy too. Yeah, I've been to Philly. I'm not far from Philly, and you know, Philly is crazy as well, man. It's all over the place. You know, it's all over the place. So, you know, just to get back to what Tony was asking, I don't want to say I'm all for any measure, you know what I mean? But, you know, we got to have some measures to try to, you know, clean up the streets, get the violence off the streets. But I just want to know how you policing it. That's my biggest thing with everything. How are you policing it? How are you going to make sure that this is safe for the people that you're supposed to be trying to protect? You know, and this is not going to backfire on the people that you're supposed to be, you say you want to protect. You know what I mean? That's what it comes down to for me right there.
And you know that new mayor is not about to voluntarily do anything to empower people to hold them cops accountable. You know what I'm saying? The man is a cop,
Yeah.
you know?
So, last thing, you know what I'm saying? I guess we, you know, kind of ended on a positive note if we can. You know what I mean? We'll end it on a little bit of a positive note. And I want to get you guys' thoughts on it. We're going to end on a positive note, but this just goes back to me when you got an OG rapper like this. You know, this is Fat Joe. And, you know, he's doing he's got a new partnership with White Castle. Right? Good, a natural partnership. Natural partnership. Not because it's Fat Joe, but because of where he's from. You know what I mean? But this to me is just an example of how, you know, a guy like Fat Joe, who's been successful, who's got these kind of partnerships going on, can school some of these young dudes like, yo, if you keep it together, you know what I'm saying? You know, success is going to come, you know, if you can keep it together. But I don't want to belabor the point. Anyway, this is Fat Joe's new commercial with White Castle. I want y'all to tell me what you think about it. It's Fat Joe.
Hey, yo, what's up, y'all? This is Fat Joe. In case you've been under a rock, I'm from the Bronx. The month of January is no longer January. It is called Joe-nuary. Thanks to White Castle, everything Joe is going to fly around here. We have the Sloppy Joe, the Smoky Joe, and of course, the Spicy Joe. It takes some onion rings, clam strips, and sliders with them. I'm here to destroy your New Year's resolution. Joe-nuary. White Castle, everything Joe. Let's get to it. Hey, yo, what's up, y'all? This is...
All right, Fat Joe and White Castle. Tony?
Hey, that's the big homie from the Bronx representing, so I will never say anything negative about my guy, Fat Joe. Get your money, man. At first, I was disappointed because I thought it was just gonna be called like a Sloppy Joe, and I'm like, that's bad branding. But the fact that they got you know, the Spicy Joe and the other one, I think it kind of eased that whole Sloppy Joe thing. I thought like he was opening the door for some punchlines and records and things of that nature. But I think with the mixture of the three sandwiches, I think he could pull it off.
I mean, listen, somebody somewhere at some time might try to, you know, sneak something in there a little slick. But yo, he's doing his thing. He's getting his money. You know what I'm saying?
And I love that he joked, I'm here to ruin your New Year's resolution, because you know that's the most popular resolution every year.
Right.
I'm gonna get in shape. We was just talking about it. Say I'm gonna hit the gym. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. He's here to ruin that. Don't even fight the urge. Go try your.
Fat Joe already lost his weight. You know what I'm saying? He already lost his weight. He's good. He's about to ruin their
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You know, he was out on the beach in Miami, getting it in, you know, losing weight and this and that. And now he's going to tell you to go to White Castle. Some of the greasiest food you ever ate. You know what I'm saying? But I ain't trying to diss White Castle, though. But I like what you said earlier, though. If January is now going to be Joe-nuary, then he need to drop some music then.
That's a fact.
Sir.
You know what I'm saying? He needs to drop some music.
he need to work on clearing the samples on that Lost album that he uploaded that time that got took down, because I only heard a couple cuts on it. I was liking what I was hearing, and then it was gone.
Yeah, I think that's I don't want to say out of his price range, but I think if he pays for those samples, unfortunately,
he's gonna recruit, right?
He's not going to recruit. So it would literally be paying to give it away.
Yeah. Latoria B said Fat Joe is pulling a Snoop Dogg. He's going to be everywhere. I agree, because Snoop is everywhere. Snoop does everything. Snoop does everything. Snoop was social media before social media was social media, back in the day. And now he's the king of social media. You know what I mean? But Fat Joe is he's putting himself out there like that too. You know what I mean? He got the Fat Joe show on, well, it was on Instagram, and then Revolt picked it up, I believe.
Chopra.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, but he was just on. He just filled in for Wendy Williams, right? A couple weeks ago.
Was it him and Remy?
It was him and Remy. Yeah, it was him and Remy filled in for Wendy Williams. You know what I'm saying?
That's
so
cool.
yeah, Fat Joe is putting himself out there and doing some things. It's dope to see though.
Absolutely,
it's dope to see. Because he could be on the other end of the spectrum. With some of our other rappers, that other older generation rappers that aren't as successful, and I'm not even talking about music wise. You got rappers that were more successful than Fat Joe music wise, who now weren't able to weather the storm. You know what I'm saying? Fat Joe, his music career, maybe he's not going to be as popular as it once was, and he's not going to be back on top, but he's found other avenues to continue his success, and that's the knowledge that needs to be spread to some of these young dudes out here.
I was just about to say that, Sam. I think this gives more hope in the aspect of what we were talking about with these first topics. This gives me more hope for the future to watch how hip hop has grown and these guys have elevated. Now, Fat Joe, we're talking about one of the most alleged gangster musicians, you know what I mean, out there, as far as like being in the streets and really beating up other rappers and things of that nature. And I mean, it, to my point earlier, sometimes it just takes time for these guys to grow up. Yeah. The problem is when you die, there's no more growing. There's, I mean? There's no more time to grow. But shout out to Joe. Keep doing your thing and representing hip hop and putting it in a positive light. A lot of our OGs are doing that right now. So salute to them.
No doubt about it. But hey,
I mess with it heavy.
Go ahead, Savvy. My fault.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I mess with it heavy. I like seeing stuff like this. Since we're on the topic of New York rappers and OGs and just positive things, I want to give a shout out to the fact that soon, if not already, they're gonna have that street named after Fred the Godson, right? They're still working on the community center, right? That's another rapper gone too soon. Unfortunately, a victim of this virus, and big word up to his brother doing all the groundwork, pounding the pavement, putting his albums together, and making sure that the legacy of Fred the Godson is honored. I like to see these legacies get carried forward in a proper manner, and I've been keeping track of it on social media, so I just wanted to slip that in and mention that. If y'all don't know about that, go ahead and do your research. Fred the Godson, all the activism that his brother has been doing, it's very great stuff.
Yeah, his brother's doing an amazing job. As a matter of fact, I've spoken to them about coming back on the show and just talk about some things that they're doing with the Fred the Godson Foundation and everything. Man, they're doing an amazing job. He's doing an amazing job, and they're doing an amazing job, without a doubt.
Yeah, big shout out to him. Kudos to him. And I want to ask y'all a question before we can get off of this topic of partnerships and community, right? We've seen Saweetie, right, with Popeyes.
Oh.
Was it McDonald's?
I thought she had a McDonald's deal.
I think you're right. I think it is McDonald's. Travis Scott had a McDonald's deal, right? But what we've always seen,
I think Meg Thee Stallion had Popeyes.
I think right. It was Meg that did the thing with Popeyes. But all throughout hip hop since the 90s, right, we've seen an ongoing relationship between rappers and Sprite, the Sprite brand.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about Sprite that makes them mess with rappers so much?
I don't know. It all started, I was about to, talk about Sprite. It all started off with Nas, my man, right? I think that had to be the first Sprite hip hop video with Nas on the stoop with, I think he was with AZ. You know what I'm saying? They spit a little verse about Sprite.
I think
it goes back to that. That was the first one. The first one. You know what I'm saying? And then, they've had a relationship ever since. You know what I mean? And that was like a dumb dope commercial. That was a dumb dope commercial, bro.
Which also probably means you have to credit Steve Stout.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. You probably got to give Steve Stout some credit for that one. Yeah, that was a dope commercial right there. The only thing that I would say though about some of these like Popeyes and McDonald's and White Castles and all of that,
health food.
Yeah, like
it's
their partnership with these rappers is not just about, and I don't, I know I'm bringing out a bunch of conspiracy stuff, but I mean, it's they know who buys this food. You dig what I'm saying? They know who's going and getting the $1 McChickens and all of that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's
held me down in high school.
Right. So it's like, let's go get, we know who's buying the fast food. Now you can even use your EBT card to go get fast food. So yeah.
They're going to get that money one way or another.
So let's market to this group, so it's not just about they want Sprite. I think maybe it's a little different, right? They have a long-standing relationship from way back in the day. But, McDonald's and Popeyes and White Castles and all these, they know who's out there buying the food. And so they're like, this is the demographic we're going to market to.
And just to add a cherry on top of that tidbit, I'm gonna get in my little conspiracy headspace right quick, and I'm gonna remind y'all, okay, that I'm all about a rapper getting a quick, clean bag of money, enrich yourself, ingratiate yourself. Go ahead, build the brand, because you're a business, man. But also, think about who's really bringing the real value to where. All right? A lot of these rappers was doing all right before they got their McDonald's, their Popeyes sponsorship.
Yeah.
So who's bringing the real value? We're bringing the value over there, not the other way around.
Exactly.
That's the favorite.
I mean, it all depends, because I'm sure they're getting a handsome check that is they may not really eat these meals that they're promoting, but
right.
So we might actually eat that.
The almighty dollar might just be letting them say, all right,
yeah. I mean,
let me endorse this. Or pick 3 things on the menu that you think you eat, or you want to say you eat.
Yeah.
We'll call it.
Listen,
this rapper's meal,
bro.
So we might not jump an album again.
Listen, Mariah Carey over Christmas did a McDonald's commercial. right? She's not eating McDonald's.
She ain't even know.
Every once in a while, she might have a McNugget one. You know what I'm saying? She ain't eating McDonald's. Yeah, Still Knicks fan said, you never see Tom Brady promoting White Castle. Nope, you won't.
That's because he's too busy getting a check from Subway.
Exactly.
And,
you did? Right. You know what I mean?
Okay.
A little healthier, too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Latoura, how you say her? Latoura B. She said, you can, wow, I want an EBT card. Food is expensive. I would think she's talking about the EBT at McDonald's.
Right.
So a funny story. I had to have been 12 years old, and my pops lived on 145th Street in Harlem, and there was a McDonald's there that took food stamps, like paper food stamps.
Yeah, at that time it wasn't supposed to be though.
And yeah, but they had a sign in the window and all that. Like it blew my mind. Like my pops was like, "Hey, you want some McDonald's?" I'm all excited. He's like, "Yeah, go get you some." I'm like, "Yo, like you trying to set one? Why you ain't give me no real money? But two, I'm like, since when you can use this at McDonald's?" And right. That was the first time, I experienced that, and it blew my mind. Yeah, they took it right in McDonald's on 145th Street. Might have been the first one ever to do it, but they did it.
Yeah, so. Yeah, that's wild. Knicks for Life said Curtis Blow was the first rapper to endorse Sprite in 1986. I didn't know that. I know that.
And somebody said Grand Puba and CL Smooth, I think.
Yeah, I think that was probably after Nas, though. After the Nas and AZ joint. But Curtis Blow, I didn't know that. That's what's up. And then D Public Enemy said Run DMC did coke before there was a Sprite commercial. Yeah, I do remember Run DMC. I don't remember the Curtis Blow Sprite joint, but I'm gonna go check it out. I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere. Yeah, that's what's up.
Run DMC did Coca-Cola before there was a Sprite. Okay. Okay, it's just. Let's
clear that up. Let's clear that one up.
There was a lot of rappers that endorsed you.
Yeah, word.
Yeah, it wasn't unpopular.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get up out of here. Listen, tomorrow night, 11:30, if you're awake, 11:30, we're going to do the song-by-song review of the Magic album tomorrow night. So, you should get a notification sometime between tonight and tomorrow morning. All right, so make sure you check us out. It's going to be fun. It's going to be dope. And, be there for it, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Any last words, Savvy?
Yeah, I want to say protect your neck. Keep it on swivel. Go hard on those New Year's resolutions. Don't matter who roll their eyes at you in the gym. Get yourself healthy. Get yourself right. You know what I'm saying? If you live in New York, go ahead and try to make a stop at the Styles P juice bar. You know what I mean? If you don't live anywhere near there, find you another juice bar. Get yourself some healthy replacements to any sugary things in your diet that you don't want to take of anymore. We're doing life and spiritual healing and good physical health all year long. I want to say, stop the violence. Let's team up and build these communities back. Hip hop, it's a beautiful genre. It's a beautiful culture. It's a beautiful life. We're back on the stoop soon. Stay tuned. Keep it locked. Okay. Always a pleasure. Salute to the chat.
Tony?
Yes, sir. Salute to the chat as well. Still Knicks fan. He's saying something about some Jay-Z album.
Say something about Jay-Z album.
I don't know. We might have to ban that dude. Shout out to Still Knicks fan.
Yo, we need him. We need him on the review tomorrow.
Yes,
Still
I agree.
Knicks fans. Ron, what's up? We need you on the review tomorrow.
I agree.
G-Mo's gonna duck it.
Yeah,
he's gonna duck it.
And I'm putting my petition in. We need Eru. We need Eru back to give his analysis as somebody who he says Nas isn't one of his favorites. He thoroughly enjoyed the last project. I want to know what he thinks about this. See you guys tomorrow night. Like Savvy said, man, we got to stop this violence. Yo, Black, it's time.
So
appreciate
let's get
you.
it. Tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen, 11:30. Look for the notification. And with that being said, out. Peace.